Okay, so today we're going to continue with developing the legally defensive IEP, second part. So, in terms of transition services, again, this has become such an important area. We here at Westchester University have two whole courses devoted to transition services, one for the pre-K 8 and the other for the secondary level. Um, but I guess the newer thing, and again, I keep saying newer, but not so new, because we've had the changes in the law for quite some time. But there has to be a summary of performance for the child that's exiting our educational system, and so that's bullet point number 3. But those that are very involved in transition certainly will talk at length about bullet number 2, which is these coordinated set of activities that are done to make sure that the child really is getting a thorough, I'll say, assessment and experiences related to transition, so that when they exit the educational system, there's a flow from their education to adult life. So that's very important. In terms of developing a legally sound IEP, certainly it's important that we have a sense of how to write goals and objectives if they're included in the child's IEP. And so we have to make sure that we're looking at things we can measure, of course, and we're looking towards certainly increasing a child's skill. Um, and we're looking for a good rate of increasing the child's skill in terms of learning that and retaining the skill. And I always like to remember how to write goals and objectives by remembering CBC. So we have the condition, the observable behavior, and the criterion. And if we have these 3 things in every goal and objective, we'll be fine. So the condition really sets the setting under which the child will learn. The behavior is what we want the child to do. And the criterion is under what criteria we're looking for, what measurable criteria we're looking for, so that we can say once the child has met this measurement, then they've met their goal. So observable responses are just that. They are responses, they're the behaviors that we can see, that we can verify. They can be as simply as yes and yes and no is measurable. Did the child do it or not? And to the maximum extent possible, the response should demonstrate the extent to which the child has acquired a skill or an outcome. And for most children, I should say, that will be skills or outcomes related to the general education curriculum. So again, this slide just sort of helps us because it's so important to know how to write these goals and objectives. They help us, give us a sense of what are the conditions here and what the responses that we might look for. So when exposed to 3-second timed flashcards, what will the child do is the response. Student will sound out R-controlled vowels in 2nd grade vocabulary. When presented with no more than 4 problems on a sheet, the student will increase from 10 to 20 the number of 2nd grade level addition facts completed within 5 minutes. Again, this is just verifying. So we have the criterion here. We add the criterion at the end on 94% of the items on 3 out of 4 test administrations. For each goal that we've identified, though, we have to have had a starting point, and we know that our starting point is our baseline. So the baseline gives us the present level of functioning for the child, and then we move from there. The same thing with our annual goals. So simple is better. Base your goals on information you have through progress monitoring. Make sure your goals are measurable. Don't reinvent the wheel. A lot of goals will come from our curriculum-based assessments, our tests, our quizzes. Um, Create data collection systems for yourself that are easy so that you know you have to take data for the child that's an IEP child. Make sure you can do it. This is quite a slide with a lot of reading on it, but essentially it's saying the same thing that we've talked about here. Um, Writing very legally sound goals and objectives. The other thing that we've said in the last narrated PowerPoint is these need to be based on all areas of need, so that's important. In terms of specially designed instruction on the IEP, you need to make sure that um, you certainly limit them to only those things that are necessary. Okay, so specially designed instruction is just what it says it is. It's a different instruction to support the child to learn. So we only want to use specially designed instruction when it's necessary, and we need to be specific on the IEP as to the time and place that the SDI will occur. So the specially designed instruction could certainly include adapting content, methodology, how we deliver instruction, the curriculum, and we need to make sure again that we identify all specially designed instruction, their location, the frequency, etc. For related services, we know that transportation and any developmental, corrective, or other supportive service needed to assist the student to benefit from special education is considered a related service. So these are services, again, that the child needs to benefit from their special education. And so there's a list of some possible related services: speech, OT, PT, psychological services, job coaching, parent training. And certainly there's a need sometimes for teachers and aides and any school personnel so that they can implement the IEP. And so on the IEP, we need to specify what kind of training. Extended school year must also be considered for all children. But we do know that there's a formula for considering extended school year, or ESY. And so the child has to be eligible, and usually that eligibility is based on whether or not the team believes there will be a regression over the summer months. It's not based on parent request. And certainly the IEP continues in the extended school year. IDEA does require, the law requires that the school takes steps to provide non-academic and extracurricular activities as well, so that the child can participate with their non-disabled peers. We also know that we have to consider the educational placement of the child, and this is different than the services. So a service or an IEP should not be dictated by placement. Okay, we decide where the child would best be served. And we, in Pennsylvania, we do, on the IEP, I should say, we break it down into percentage of time that the child will be spending in and out of the special education environment. We do have types of classes or supports, and many of them are categorical specific. Certainly when we're talking about children with sensory impairments and more significant impairments, we do have educational placements that are categorical specific. But we have to always make sure that we are talking about how the child can participate with non-disabled peers as well. This is a poem. The author is unknown. It's not Dr. Seuss, but it's an interesting poem. So I'm going to go ahead and read it for you. I do not like these IEPs. I do not like them, geez Louise. We test, we check, we plan, we meet, but nothing ever seems complete. Would you, could you like the form? I do not like the form I see. Not page one, not two, not three, another change, a brand new box. I think we all have lost our rocks. Could we all meet here or there? We cannot all fit anywhere, not in a room, not in a hall. There seems to be no space at all. Could you meet again? I cannot meet again next week. No lunch, no prep. Please hear me speak. No, not at dusk, no, not at dawn. At 4 p.m. I should be gone. Could you hear while all speak out? Would you write the words they spout? I could not hear, I could not write. This does not need to be a fight. Sign here, date here, mark this, check that. Beware the student's advocate. You do not like them, so you say, try again, and you may. If you will let me be, I will try again, you will see. Say, I almost like these IEPs. I think I'll write 6003, and I will practice day and night until they say, you got it right. So that's a good way to end, and sometimes we feel like that when we're writing these IEPs, but you'll all do fine.